Just over a week ago, the CEO of Ford, Jim Farley, was out here in California driving an F-150 Lightning 1,100 miles through California to Nevada. And I actually got a chance to catch up with him at Laguna Seca during Monterey Car Week to ask him about what he learned along the way. Let's get into it.
I took the trip because we're tripling Lightning production. As we speak, we're just finishing the Dearborn plant. We capacitized for 20,000 Lightnings. The demand was more like 150. We doubled the capacity to 550,000 a year, and now we just took the plant down for 2 months. We built no Lightnings for the last 2 months to finish all the retrofit to go to 150,000 units.
Incredible.
And as we do that, obviously we're going to go into a whole new customer base. All EVs prices are coming down.
You brought your prices down.
Yeah, because the average price paid at Lightning before we did this was like almost $90,000, and tripling the volume, we have to get the price to where there's a lot more mainstream customers who can afford it.
Sure.
So I did that just to kind of go and see. I think that's good leadership, practical leadership, to really listen and learn. And I learned a lot. I mean, I don't think I'll ever use the range anxiety phrase again, because what I saw was charging anxiety. And what I learned a lot is that as we move from the evangelists to the mainstream in EV, that's happened in China, that's happened in Europe, it has not happened here. We're getting into customers who are very uneducated and they don't have a lot of resources to learn. And we have a huge human problem to solve. We can build all the vehicles we want, we can make them profitable, but in the end of the day, if people don't understand how to handle the charging experience, how the vehicle will perform, the real world range and cold towing, things like that, especially for us, the vehicles we make, we have to do a better job. And it was really interesting to me when I went to Coalinga, one of the biggest charging stations in the country between Northern and Southern California. All the Tesla people were in their cars. They weren't talking to each other at all. It's 110 degrees out. They're watching streaming, content. And then there's all the rest of us.
Yeah.
There's Ford and Hyundai, Kia and Polestar, and we're all talking to each other. Because we're using Charge America, and there's maybe one 350 kilowatt charger, the rest are slow speed. A lot of people have never done it before, they're on their first long trip, and we're kind of in a social club trying to figure this out.
Trying to negotiate the struggle.
Yeah, probably what Tesla customers were doing a couple years ago. For example, in the 350 charger, there's like 3 people waiting in line, and there's an ethos about not taking too much energy. That's something I think the early adopter Tesla people figured out a long time ago. They don't overcharge. They don't go to 90 or 100%. They'll go to 67% if they can get home on that. And so I really figure like maybe we need a brand ambassador program. And I'm sure glad we did that Tesla deal in January, where all the Ford people retrofitted will get an adapter and an app on their phone that will allow them to connect to a supercharger network. And I learned a lot about customers and salespeople, what kind of questions they're getting that they're not equipped to answer. Our pro customers, they use the vehicles completely different than retail customers.
Yeah.
And we're number one in that market.
On the pro market, you guys understand that customer, but maybe less or so at this point with the...
They're all conquest. Yeah. Everyone on the retail side is conquest. Okay. We don't know these people. They're buying Lightnings and they're buying Mach-E's and they're new to the brand. And now the ones buying now at the lower prices are actually totally different than the people buying the same vehicles a year ago.
Yeah.
And they have much more fundamental questions.
Sure. Because early adopters already know certain things. They want it. They know what they want, and they're willing to spend up for it.
And they exert effort to go solve the problems themselves. But the early majority, or even the majority customers, they won't do that. They'll go, I really want to pay for an EV. Or if I get an EV and the duty cycle works, how do I evaluate my own duty cycle or drive cycle that works for this vehicle? How much do I value not going to the gas station? All the things that early adopters kind of don't even think about.
Yeah.
They think about.
It makes sense.
So I believe we're kind of in this human reality now that we have to solve for.
Good, wonderful. And then just generally, did you have any major issues? It sounds like that lineup at Coalinga, Any other major issues with?
I mean, no. I think for me, I did a lot of things during the trip. Like I evaluated our new Blue Cruise 1.3.
Yeah.
It's won a lot of awards. We've already kept caught up and passed GM now. So I think other than Tesla, no one has more miles hands-free now. And so I evaluated a 1.3 and a 1.4 already beta test for, we have lane change now for Blue Cruise. We have a couple new features we're thinking about.
Cool.
So I did a lot of evaluation of that. So, I wasn't just learning about charging and EVs, I was learning about tech.
Yeah. I guess my other question becomes, I'm sure you get driven around a fair amount.
I do, in a Lightning.
There we go.
I refuse to get driven around in a Navigator.
Okay, awesome.
My driver's like, Navigator's really nice. And I'm not sure, Jim, we go a lot of miles. Why do we have to do this Lightning? I said, because this is really important for the company. He now loves it. Actually rides better than Navigator 8.
It's a very quiet car.
Yeah,
I think
really,
the Lightning's impressive.
And it's super roomy.
Yeah.
So I can take people with me.
Yeah, cool.
My family, so yeah.
Makes sense. Cool. Thank you. Well, I think I might be out of time. I appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
One more.
Well, just generally, one of the things I've experienced with like NACS versus the CCS.
We didn't get into that.
Is like the plug shape and the ease of that. So can you talk about like your thoughts on the actual plug?
I mean, when Doug Fields came to the company, a year and a half ago, we started having this debate about the plug itself. Whether this committee design plug is competitive with the Tesla plug, and we all started having plug failures and we'll run them over and they're broken and all sorts of stuff happened. And it became really clear to all of us as leaders, that's a better solution.
Yeah.
It was engineered better. I hate to say it, but it was. So, then we started talking to Tesla because we thought it'd be good for them and the industry. And, that kind of stopped maybe a year and a half ago. And then it got started up when IRA got passed because I think Tesla wouldn't get money from the federal government to expand the supercharger network.
Sure.
If it was a standard.
Yeah.
If the government felt like it was a standard.
That would change everything.
And then at the same time, we became number 2 in EV sales in the U.S. So we started talking to them really seriously. It took a while. I didn't think the others would follow as fast as they did, which is great that they did. But it was a no-brainer for us. And also, the part that people don't really understand is that we see these charging experience as a social experience. And so when we had, and probably for our vehicles, the 3-row crossover and the new truck, a lot of those people are going to probably be Tesla customers and look at our vehicles. And how great would it be to tell them you don't have to give up your charging network if you want it. And, oh, by the way, there's a bunch of Tesla people seeing our vehicles plugged in Tesla. They'll be curious about the vehicle.
Exactly. It feeds both ways, yeah.
So we thought it was good for Tesla, good for Ford, good for the industry, and I'm glad that pretty much everyone's following us.
I got to say, when GM actually went out and announced right after you guys, me and my girlfriend went out and celebrated. Because I think this was like one of the last reasons that people had to not buy electric was just it's not consistent, it's not reliable.
I kept talking to everyone in our industry, why are we doing the railroad tracks over here?
Yeah.
In the U.S., there were different gauge of railroads, and we have to solve this. We're making it hard for customers.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Let's do better.
Yeah, but there are all these reasons. But that's why Ford took the lead.
Yeah,
we have to think differently. That's why I separated the EV business, because our prejudice on the ICE side is to compete with people. And there's no such thing as frenemies in that world. That's why I created the EV business in Ford, because we need a new kind of way of thinking. And frenemies in the digital electric world are a reality.
Yeah.
Everyone's working with each other. That's the reality. We've got to get our heads around that. And that's changed at Ford. We are, thank goodness we separated the business.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for leading. Appreciate your time.